Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I am going to be doing the BookTube Top 10. So I was tagging this by all these books, with the original tags being done by Old, Blues, Chapter, and Verse. So basically, this tag is to talk about your top 10 favorite books of all time at this time. And he's actually collecting data on this. He's going to bring that together to see what the top favorites are of booktubers and what they're reading. So I have a stack of books here, so let's get into them. I'm gonna go from the from number 10 to number 1. So let me go ahead and get these books in some type of order here. All right, so my number 10 on my list is actually a graphic novel. I'm not sure if these actually count on his list, but I'm gonna count them in there because they are one of my favorites. So. That is Kingdom Come by DC by Mark Waid and Alex Ross, and this is basically a graphic novel talking about it's part of the Elseworlds imprint of DC, and basically they take part in a different universe where basically Superman has kind of put up his cape. He has kind of let the world do his own thing, and a new generation of heroes have come to the forefront to kind of help humanity, but also have the new generation of villains, and things are kind of out of control. And so Batman and Wonder Woman try to get Superman out of retirement to come back and try to take care of the problem. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor and his cohorts have a solution to the problem, and they are trying to manipulate Captain Marvel, here now known as Shazam, to solve the problem their way too. So it's a really interesting look at what that world will be like, and it's kind of told with a lot of imagery from Revelation. So like the coming battle between these two sides is basically like almost is shown through like the 7 seals that are shown in Revelation, with each seal being unsealed, and like there's a next stage of what's coming. And so this was a really good book, and one book that had a really large impact on me in my childhood is in regards to the comic book graphic novel genre. And then next is a proper book, and that is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes and Other Stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes is one of my favorite characters ever. And so this was one of my favorite collection of books ever. And I haven't read it in a while because I kind of want to read. I read this a while ago. I kind of want to let how the cases are solved kind of leave my mind before I read it again, and then like go back into it and try to figure out the cases myself. So this is one of my favorite books, and that's why it appears here at number 9 on my list. The next book is called The Team of Rivals, The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln by Doris Kearns Goodwin. And this one is on the list this is one of my top 10s because this is I believe my first time. This is the first book that I read in long form non-fiction history, and I think it was a good start to something that I still do today. I got this in high school when I don't think I was reading many books, like a lot of books like I am now anyway, in high school, and this was one of the books that I picked up, and I really enjoyed this, and it's kind of stuck with me. And you see it's kind of all messed up in red, but it was definitely quite an experience to read. I should reread this at some point in the future just to kind of have that old nostalgia feeling of reading this, but this is definitely still on my favorites and appears at number 8 on my list. The next book on that list is going to be the next book on that list is going to be Circe by Madeline Miller. And actually, I read Song of Achilles before I read Circe, and Song of Achilles was great, but I feel like Circe's was her masterpiece so far. This book is about a character that appears in the Odyssey, but to be honest, I had totally forgotten this character was even in the Odyssey. It wasn't until reading it again that I realized that she was there. But basically, she was this witch that Odysseus meets, and when he meets her, She's this powerful witch that can turn like men into like animals. So she has potions where she can turn men into animals. But when she meets Odysseus, she kind of kind of caves in and kind of becomes his lover. And Madeline Miller said she was disappointed in that, so she decided to write this story showing us another side of that story from Circe's point of view. And it's just a great book. I really love reading this. Read this as this is actually the first book I read as part of a book club last year. When I joined the Discord book club that the Pothmus runs. And I really love this book. I love The Song of Achilles, and I love Madeline Miller's writing. So that's why this is number 7 on my list. Number 6 is another nonfiction history book, and that is The Crusades by Thomas Asbridge. This book basically is a one-volume history of the Crusades. And I really liked this book when I picked this up. I think I picked this up in college, and I've read through it. I mean, maybe not through the whole thing multiple times, but I picked it up multiple times and read through it because it's just so well told. And I really enjoyed reading about the Crusades, and I really enjoyed this writing as well. Because not a lot of history books. There are a lot of history books out there, but not all of them are written so that even if you're not a history person, you can enjoy the book. And that 30 Years War book was like that. It was very academic and very hard for me to read, and for anyone who's not familiar with 30 Years War, it'd be like a very hard book to read. But this one was a very easy to read. The writing was great, and the history itself was interesting. So that lines at number 6 on my list. Yeah, number 6. Hopefully I can count. Number 5 on my list. Let's see, 4, 3, 2. Yep, number 5 on my list is going to be Isaac Asimov's Foundation. I've read this multiple times, and I really the reason why I really like this book, not only is it great science fiction, but it's very simple writing. To be honest, there's nothing very artistic about it. It's very simple writing, and yet the story is just so good. Basically, the Foundation, the story basically is that way in the future, this guy comes up through this discipline called psychohistory, that humanity is going to experience a dark age, but that dark age can be shortened if 2 foundations are founded on 2 separate parts of the galaxy. And this follows one of those foundation colonies that he sets up, and the different eras that it goes through, and the changes that it goes through as time moves on. And this is actually a series. I'm tempted just to take 1 month and read through the whole series, because I've only read the first 3 books, but I have the whole series. There's actually, I think, there was one book I couldn't find. I think maybe Foundation of Earth. I searched everywhere for and could not find the book. Barnes and Nobles, random bookstores, and finally found it one day in Princeton. But so now I have the whole collection. I'm tempted just to take 1 month and just read the whole thing. There's no structured TBR. To sit down, just read all of the whole Foundation series. So I may actually do that in the future. But that comes in number 5 on my list. Number 4 is one that I finished last year, and that was actually War and Peace. And I never expected this to be one of my favorites of all time, especially given that it's so long. And I really enjoyed this novel way more than I thought I would, especially with all the characters that are in it, all the different scenes, changes in focus on the characters. I think Leo Tolstoy did a really, really good job with this, making the battle scenes feel climactic and cinematic as well, making the characters all feel real, and you actually feel for some of the characters. You can relate to some of the characters. This is just an all around good book, and I can see why it's considered one of the greatest novels of all time. So that comes in at number 4. Number 3, Number 3 on this list is going to be Americanah, a novel by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And this book I really, really liked last year when I read it. It was just very well written. It talks about a Nigerian woman who's an immigrant to the United States. The focus is mainly on her, but it also talks about her boyfriend, at least at the time when she left Nigeria, and what he did as well during this time when she was in America, and it's kind of about her and her immigrant experience and trying to come to terms with what it is to be black in America, and an immigrant in the United States, and how she gets through that and becomes a stronger person, and it does a really well written novel. Just amazing and great. Actually, I think the book club this month is also reading another book by Chiamata Ngozi. So I definitely look forward to reading that if I get the chance to this month. And then second, once again, it's not a traditional book, so I'm not sure if it'll be counted in the statistics, but Jeff Lemire's Essex County is a collection of his Essex counties. I think it's a collection, but there are 3 stories told in this book. Actually, 4. No, there are 3 stories told in this book. And the reason why this is number 2 on my list, and actually, there's one other one I'm going to put here at the number 2 spot, tied for number 2, and that's The Sculptor by Scott McCloud. The reason why I'm going to put these 2 books in number 2 on my list is that they are the only books, and besides maybe Kindred, I think, that have actually evoked an emotional response out of me. And Kindred almost got me to cry, and that is something that is because it was just so well told, and it was such an emotional story. So that is why it's on the list, because it elicited such a strong emotional response in me. So I'm gonna put this one in. Scott McCloud. That one didn't make me cry, but it was just like the emotional feelings that I had after reading that were just like off the charts. So I'm gonna have those both tied at number 2. I have this one actually as a physical copy here, so I'm gonna show this one. But yeah, Essex County was just great. It's basically talking about this place, the small town where you have these 3 different people living their lives, and one is a small boy who's just lost his parents. One is a old man who's reminiscing about his past, and one is a nurse who kind of knows like all these people in the town. And it's just great how it all ties together and how all these people are interconnected. It was just an amazing storytelling. Some of the best story I've seen, to be honest, that you don't really see, I believe, in most books. And so my number one book, favorite book of all time, is going to be Endurance: Shackleton's Incredible Journey by Alfred Lansing. And this book chronicles a trip of explorers who go down to Antarctica. They wanted to be the first team to actually cross Antarctica over the mainland of Antarctica. Recently, someone actually completed that unaided. They didn't have any aid, and they completed the walk across by themselves. But this group was doing this. This was like 1914. They set out in 1914 to do this, and their boat actually got crushed in the ice around Antarctica before they even hit the mainland. And basically, they had to survive on the ice and try to make it back to civilization. And so I've read this multiple times, at least 3 to 4 times over the years. And I just keep coming back to this because it is like one of the greatest, as this thing said, one of the greatest adventure stories of our time. And just the strength that these men had, the endurance, that's the title says, that these men had to get through that experience. And not one man lost his life of this expedition. One man lost his feet due to like gangrene, frostbite and gangrene, but no one lost their lives of the 22 men of this book. And it's just truly marvelous, great reading. The guy who wrote this, Alfred Lansing, did a really good job of drawing you in as a reader and keeping you on the hook as you read this book. So that is it for my top 10 of my favorite books of all time at the moment. We'll see if this changes over. Maybe this will be a tag I do every year to see if it changes. If it doesn't, then why do it every year? But to see if one of these books changes, maybe I like one book better than the other. But yeah, I'm gonna thank Doris for tagging me in this. I want to thank her for tagging me in this tag. And once again, all of you, if you're watching, you can do this tag. I actually encourage you to. So Old Chapter Blue and Verse can get the statistics he needs to see what our top 10 books look like. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReads28 and also on Goodreads. The link to that is in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.